Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And I'm 22 minutes late for the live stream. Forgive me. Today, we are talking about why doesn't my ex love me? Why your ex still loves you. So, two opposite questions, I guess, that could be answered in two different ways. But this is something that comes up a lot as a breakup coach and talking to people about the breakups. People ask me a lot, why don't they love me? Do they still love me? And I'll get into that in a moment. But before I get into that, if you like this live stream, throw me a like. If you have a topic for a future live stream, please put it in the comments below. I am going to have a live stream every day this week. It's posted on Instagram, Coach Mac McCarthy, so you can check the topics out there. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Indochina time, there will be one also. So, why doesn't my ex love me? Like I said, in live coaching sessions, a lot of times, do they miss me? The question is, how long have you been together and why did you break up? Now, there has been circumstances where people break up, they're unaccepting of the breakup. And what happens is they're so unaccepting of the breakup that they make a scene, they create a traumatic moment, and they say some really mean shit. And in those situations, what happens is the person can literally close the door on getting back with you because they are scared that you're going to say mean things again, or they're angry, or they're upset. And so the idea comes that, why doesn't my ex love me? So if somehow in your head that you've created this narrative where you believe because you're not together, they don't love you. But the reality is, love doesn't dissipate that easily. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, even if you have a relative or a friend that you maybe would say you love, I don't know if, some people might say friends, I don't have that kind of feeling for, but I suppose that romantic love and love for a family member are different. But actually, there's a lot of similarities after a breakup. And I think that that's the case when someone goes, I'm no longer in love, but I love you. So this comes up a lot. She says that I'm not in love with you anymore. What does that mean? Well, the interesting thing is, in doing the work I've done, it means something different to every person that says it. And everyone has a different definition of what love is to them. And so when you really look at that and someone goes, well, I love them, I would do this, this, and this, I would never leave them, I would always support them. Well, they aren't you. They have different morals, values, life experiences that have made them a way where they go, yeah, when you did that, I was done. And so people have this really difficult challenge when they break up, and they create this victim state of like, they don't even love me. A lot of times, even if you had a bad breakup, but you were together for 4 years, what's up, Philip? You were together for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Okay. Someone can still love you and not be with you. And by you creating that narrative that they don't even love me, that's you being a victim. That's you seeking out pity. And you're actually putting words in their mouth, because I would say most cases, if they love you. People can't just cut ties with love. They don't just go, yeah, I'm done. Someone can break up with you and still love you. And actually, I would say that in some cases, some people, is a very brave and courageous act. I know someone would agree with me that they can actually admit to you that they can go, I just don't have those feelings anymore. And because I don't have those feelings anymore, and I'm not in the relationship the way you're in the relationship, we have to break up. Now, someone's not going to say, oh, I love you in that moment. But deep down in their moment, they're actually committing a loving act because they don't want to cheat you in the relationship, not cheat on you, right? So why your ex still loves you is another point. So if I'm going to say that in most cases, your ex still loves you, right? Because the path to love is not easy. What, Philip, you might be able to throw in on this. What contributes to you getting to a point where you love someone? trust, loyalty. There's one thing that I think supersedes it all. But the formula of how you love someone is different for everyone. And I would add that there are people out there that can cut love and feelings and emotions very quickly because of the way they were raised and the life experiences they had. And so it's just not cut and dry how it goes down. Now, in my own particular life, and my own breakups, and my own life places with family members and whatnot, I grew up in a family where we didn't use the word love a lot. It wasn't that there. It doesn't mean I don't love my mom or my father, but we just didn't go, "I love you, mom. I love you, dad." We just didn't use that word or phrase a lot. And I remember my grandma would always say, "I love you. I love you." And so it's a word that we place on a feeling. And sometimes what people do with that term is they have their definition and then they just assume everyone defines it the same way. All of those and how they make you feel when you're around them. Okay. I find it interesting that there's some people out there. I have friends, man. I love you, bro. They'll just say, "I love you." Like they'll say it to their buddies. I remember I had a friend do that I worked with, and you'd say it all the time. And it was nice. But at the same time, I wasn't used to friends saying that. And he's a loving guy. He had a couple dogs. He had 3 kids. And he was just gregarious and loving person overall. And he embraced being that way. And so when you think that, why doesn't my ex love me? There's a good chance you know if they love you. They still care about you. If something happened to you and you needed someone to call, a lot of times they would be there. And the reason why they still love you is because once you really love someone, is it that easy to let it go? I don't think so. And the more experiences and the more life, and this is what I was going to say also that adds up to love is the fact that what you've been through together and the time you've been together, the day in, day out of the relationship. Now, if there is a time when your ex just doesn't love you anymore, it didn't happen in a day. It didn't happen in a day. It didn't happen the day of the breakup. It happened well before the breakup. It happened a year before the breakup. Things were transpiring, problems were happening, and it didn't just happen in a day or during the breakup. That individual hadn't loved you for a long time because of the experiences that you guys have shared. And so a lot of times talking to people in live coaching sessions, they'll be married for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 15 years. And they'll get in a new relationship out of their marriage. And the new relationship will be hot and heavy. It'll be, oh my God, man, the intimacy was amazing. Oh my God. I remember there was a guy, he's from the Midwest, and I believe he was a delivery man for some service, but he would deliver Starbucks and places like this. And he was in his late 40s, and he was getting women in their 20s and late 20s hitting on him that worked at Starbucks and some of these other places. So within like a year, he had already been with a couple women. So he had been with this other woman that was, I believe she was 23 or 24. And like I said, I want to say he's about 45 or 48 years old. And he had been with this woman, hot and heavy, great passion, great intimacy. He hadn't seen that in his 20-year marriage in a long time. So we're talking. We're unpacking the breakup. It's a situation where he's in love with intimacy. She was in love with the security and she was highly attracted to him, but she wasn't as attached to him. The relationship wasn't as important to her as it was to him. And this is what happens when there's a large age gap in relationships, is usually you have more of a propensity to look at the world differently. And you start to go like, why would you say that? Or why would you do that? Because age does count in perspective. And so he was sitting there going, and the part that got me is I'm like, you just had a divorce of a 20-year marriage. Did you feel like you needed to get breakup advice from that? He's like, oh, hell no. He goes, me and my wife are good friends. We're on good terms, but that relationship was dead for 5 years. He's like, we just became friends. And when we parted ties, we both agreed that, we'd be cordial and whatnot. He had no feelings. And to me, he said he still felt some love for her as in caring as a family member, but he didn't love her in that way, and it had transpired over years. So by the time they broke up, there wasn't a whole lot of ill feelings because it was already simmering for a while. I mean, have you ever had that happen in a relationship where you were already at the door and they just needed to open it, or you felt like it had gotten so stale and mediocre that by the time it ended, you didn't feel that harsh, but you still love the person in your own way? And Philip Carlson just wrote, no, it takes time to fall out of love, just like in love. And so I'm saying you can fall out of love while you're with someone. And then when the breakup happens and someone goes, you don't even love me anymore, it's like, well, it transpired over time, right? It transpired over time. And the amazing thing about relationships and love, it can come back, it can go away. There's so many twists and turns, right? It's like when someone says love at first sight. Have you ever had love at first sight? I don't know if I've had love at first sight. I've had a high attraction to a woman. I've thought to myself, and the one moment that I've said in my life where I went, that could have been love at first sight. The woman ended up being my girlfriend for a few years. But the interesting thing is, she wasn't receptive to me at all. She didn't like me in the beginning. She wasn't receptive to going out. And so I left her alone, and some things transpired that we ended up going out. She ended up having some interest, but someone that thinks like, oh, love at first sight. It wasn't like a movie. It wasn't Hollywood. That's the same with my ex-wife. I care about her, but not in love with her. So what's the difference between being in love and caring, and a caring love, right? Could you fall? This is a really good, interesting question, Philip, and thanks for being on deck and chiming in. Do you feel once you fell out of love, marriage at first sight, Jesse, welcome, bud. Once you fall out of love, is it much harder to fall back in love with the same person? I think it is, actually, because you already have this playbook and this way of looking at someone that you can't get out of your head that's transpired. Marriage at first, there's people out there that always go, oh, right when I knew her, I knew I was going to marry her. It's like, okay. I mean, there's people you are insanely attracted to at first sight, but the idea that you're going to somehow tell the future that you're going to be together for the rest of your life, it's possible to believe that until it doesn't become true, right? It's all good until it's not good, until something happens. The amount of people that send me stories that go, we never fought, we never got angry with each other. And then I go, until you didn't, until you did fight, until you did start. I mean, having an argument or not getting along in certain circumstances is absolutely normal, right? It's a part of relationships, and it actually, in a crazy way, creates passion. You don't want to be in fights all the time, but I've had people say that they fought a lot with their partner in an argumentative way. This isn't physical abuse, argumentative way, or they had issues, but you'd say, well, why did you stay together? Oh, the intimacy was outstanding because of the hot and cold and making back up, the fear of loss. And so that's an interesting thing about it. Yes, exactly. The perception is always there. Yes, it is. Perception is already there. What do you mean the perception is already there? Can you elaborate on what you mean, Philip, please? Got 5 on deck. Thanks for the likes, folks. I'll open it up for discussion with the 5 people that are on. Obviously, this isn't as popular as a time. But throw it out there. Like I said, I'm doing this for other people that said that this time zone it's a little difficult for them to get on. And if you do have a story or a situation, please send it in to writemac.com. And if you want to book a live coaching session, I'm available. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Have you ever thought, did my ex ever love me? And that's one of those questions that if you have to ask that question, it wasn't a very good relationship. Or are you being dramatic? Could be one of two things, right? Because I've had people like, I wonder, did they ever love me? Don't you feel like you know when someone loves you? I mean, what would be the formula that you start to feel like, wow, this person really loves me? There's a certain look in someone's eyes when they're really in love with you or they really care about you. My ex-wife and I have a perception in my head, and I don't think I can change it. Okay, so I understand what you mean now. So someone, if you're with them long enough, you start to know what their next move's going to be. And there's certain situations where you get burnt out on being able to predict every time they're going to be negative. My ex-girlfriend and I had to talk about us. How did it go, Philip? Do you want to ask me any questions right now, or did you want to have a live coaching about that? You told me before you might want to talk about it. I'm going to be on this live stream for another 10 or 15 minutes. I just wanted to pop in for a time frame. We got 8 on deck. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. How did it go, Philip? Was it okay? Philip had a live coaching session with me before, so I know some of his situation. A good question in the comments below is, how many times have you been in love before? Like really in love? I've never really thought about this before. Like been in love, where you're in love. You're in that rose petals and wine glasses phase of love. And what transpired to make that happen? I will do both. Okay, cool, Philip. Look forward to talking to you again. You're a good dude. But that's an interesting thing. It went horrible. Well, we need to talk about it then. We definitely need to talk about it. But thinking about this topic and this question, and during the live stream, if you ever have a question that's not pertaining to the live stream, that's okay. I'll get to it. I have no problem answering stuff that are outside the context of the topic. The topic is there for something to unpack, something to look forward to, and something that viewers want to maybe talk about. But what I would say is that if you, rather than looking at why someone might not love you anymore or whatnot, think about how you actually fell in love and why. What were the circumstances that you fell in love under, and are those circumstances vastly different now? And a lot of times you'll find that they are. And that's where the truth lies. People change. Circumstances change. And then when circumstances change, relationships change, right? Someone I've known recently, family divorce, kids are involved. It's over money. Someone's massively in debt. Someone in the relationship's massively in debt. I'm excellent, Jersey girl, Jen. Good to hear from you. I hope you're well. Someone's massively in debt. And does love get in the way of debt? Well, if you're married to someone and they've created a massive debt that becomes your debt, and you don't have the money to pay it, and now you have all this stress, it's really hard in the name of love to continue on the relationship. And you got kids involved. This happens a lot. And someone might go, oh, someone just cares about money. I would say this is circumstantial. It's circumstantial. Jen, how have you been? She is not interested in dating me. She does not want to be in a relationship and is going to Tennessee again this week. I'm starting to think she has found another person and is trying to be nice. Well, just know this, Philip. Starting to think means you don't know. So that narrative or idea, you just don't know. And I would add, Philip, you don't want to know. If she's not interested in dating you any longer, right now, you're in a breakup mode, right? And it hurts. It's going to take some time. She could change her mind. In the meantime, the idea that you think she is seeing someone else is not going to serve you. Now, even though I've been in a breakup before and I think she's seeing someone else, I saw a picture, I saw a photo, someone told me something, I don't want more info. I don't want to dig deeper. Especially if she's moving to another state. Oh no, she's going to Tennessee again this week. It's certainly possible. It's certainly not possible too, right? I mean, if you said, I'm starting to think, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think you're right? People do this all the time. Think about on TV. I'm a big sports fan, or I was a big sports fan. The amount of critics on TV that go, I think, means I don't know. It means here's my opinion based on my feelings, not a lot of facts. So if you say, I'm starting to think she has found another person, is there any facts tied to that? Or is that just a feeling? And I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, how right do you think you are, Philip, about that? A 50%, a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10? So for example, what's up, Brian Union? 10. If you think someone's seeing someone else, right? Okay. You think they're seeing someone else, you should have evidence or factual proof. So I remember, it's going well, Brian. I hope you're well, bud. I had an ex before, broke up. We were seeing each other off and on afterwards in that gray area, which I was comfortable with. Bam. I'm out. We both worked at the same company, so we'd run into each other, but we were in different departments. And there was a new guy that worked in my department that I noticed that she came down to say hello to, and she did this, she did that. Looking back, maybe it was to get me jealous. She went out to lunch with him one time. Then she told one of my coworkers that she liked this guy. I mean, it was all getting back to me. It swirled in my head. It upset me. I was like 20 years old. I was pissed. But we were broken up. And you know what? It was the beginning of the end for me, where I was like, I'm not going to chase after this. I mean, even though you like someone else or you have interest in this other guy, I don't want to know any more details. I had another situation where a really painful, my most painful breakup at the time, not anymore because I'm fine now, which is why I help people with their breakups, because you're going to come out of this shit. Don't you worry. The thing is, I remember I had some suspicions. I didn't want to know. And it's possible that she was maybe seeing someone before we broke up. I don't know. We were together 4.5, 5 years, and she was quite loyal, and I was very confident throughout most of the relationship until the end. So at the end, I remember a friend came to me and he's like, hey, dude, do you want some inside information about her? I said, absolutely not. He goes, well, one of my friends, I said, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And it was a smart move on my part, because what are you going to do with that? Is it going to make you feel well? Is it going to make you feel good? Yeah, it's killing me. I'm not going to dig deeper. A 9. She said she bought a house down there. I mean, Philip, it's certainly possible, but here's the thing. Let's just say, Philip Carlson, you find out for sure it's true. She's seeing someone else. What does that do to your relationship with her? Are you done now? Is that your clarity to say, it's not going to necessarily make you feel good, but I've always been one, if I find out my ex is with someone else and maybe we're working on things, maybe we're still seeing each other, I'm done. Some other people, well, if she breaks up with that new guy, would I be in the pit? That's a choice. My issue is I can never let go when they get someone else. It's like an ego bruise or something. See, for me, it's an ego bruise, but it's to me by it's an ego bruise, sure. But at the same time, it's like, so you went from first place in her life to what? You went from your first option to a backup option? No. No bueno. So last night I told her I loved her and I don't want this to end. I did some traveling. She said I will think about it. Well, leave it alone, Philip. Leave it alone now. And the thing is, I love the LOL. That means you have a sense of humor, dude. Go for you. I mean, when if G Money's been on live stream many times, Union you've been on, Jersey Girl Jen. If you ever do a coaching session with me, we do laugh a little bit. It's not intentional. It's just the way I want to look at things. We got to find some things funny about this shit. Have you ever really thought, like, literally when I talk about my old breakup, I look back and I'm like, God, that was dramatic. You know, it's like you look back and you look back at some of the ways you were feeling or talking. I mean, sometimes I've had some things and you just go, "Jeez." Now, Philip, you've been around long enough to have gone through a breakup before. You know what it's like. It's not fun. And they do change for person. Graveling. I did some graveling. What does that mean, graveling? What do you mean by that, if I may ask? Anyone else have something? I'm not going to spend too much time tonight on this because it's nighttime. Why doesn't my ex love me? Why your ex still loves you? Have you had a situation before where you thought that, like, they don't love me anymore? The reality, or you think like we broke up, but I know they still love me. Do you grapple with that idea or gravel with it, as Philip would say? G Money, how you been, bud? Never can never let go when they get someone else. It's like an ego bruise. So I mean, what is if you can't let them go once they're with someone else? Is that what would be the formula to let it go, Brian? When you meet someone else, because I mean it's kind of interesting. We have this thing about rebounding and monkey branching, and they just got with someone right away. Is really the answer that when you fully let go is when you fill that void? When you do meet someone else yourself? Could it also be not just ego but jealousy? I mean, I've heard people say before that it's not fair. I was loyal, they weren't. It's not fair. They found someone else, I didn't. My ex told me she fell out of love. I think a lot of times there can be love left, but attraction is always the first to go. Hence why people hear, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I would agree, G Mike. Good to have you back on deck, bro. I would agree that I think when someone says they're not in love, they're saying, I still trust you, I still connect with you, but I'm not as attracted to you. I would say that's absolutely true in most cases. Um, and it could be contributed to trust, though. I believe probably one of the hardest um, reasons to break up, but people stay together is when there's trust. There's because, like I've said this before, to me, attraction in a long-term relationship is fleeting, meaning it comes and goes. Now, there's some people out there that's like, oh no, I'm absolutely 100%, 110% attracted to my wife or my long-term girlfriend every day of the week, every minute. I mean, okay, okay. I think there's moments where when people are together often enough, you're like, wow, look like shit, right? But if you have attraction and trust and the connection's off because you don't like the same things, I think people linger on sometimes in those relationships more often. How about this one though, G Money? What's up, Sammy? How about this one though? The amount of people that stay with someone that they believe they're in love with, right? They're in love with, and they're with them out of the 110% level of attraction they have for them, but they lack any sort of trust. This happens a lot. Attractions, ebbs and flows, no doubt. I've become slightly obsessed with trying to keep myself up so I don't become unattractive. And the funny thing is about being attractive to women, a lot of times most women would say they're attracted to the guy that's confident, right? You know which one's underrated? It's underrated for some guys out there is hygiene. Is like the idea of like not cutting your nails, having cobwebs in your mouth. I used to get Playboy magazine for the articles. And what's up, Mike? Been looking for you in the daylight with a flashlight. All right, this is why I do a different time zone. Mikey Mike, the legend continues. Been on the channel 2 years now. I'm good, bud. But like the number one thing the Playboy centerfolds used to say that they liked, you know, because they would be like, what kind of guys are you attracted to in the centerfolds, right? And it would be like, what do you think it would be? Confidence. It would be like, oh, I like a confident guy. One of the number one, and the number one turnoff would be bad breath. It was like every woman put the same thing. And it's like, you know, there's some dragons out there, man. There's some dudes puffing green smoke out there. You've had friends before where you're like, dude, you got to take care of that. My ex-fiance broke contact because of my son. Now I can finally dump her. Revenge is a dish best served cold. My ex-fiance broke contact because of my son. Now I can finally dump her. Revenge is a dish. So I'm kind of confused. Broke contact because of my son. I don't know if this is the same Sammy I did a live coaching with or not. Because you weren't dumped by your ex-fiance. Like I said, I did some begging last night and left it with, I still love her and I hope she changes her mind and to get a hold of me if she does. She said I will think about it. Bottom line, begging never is attractive. It's pity seeking. But you know what, Philip? Many, many, many before you have been there. And many will be there after you. And the thing you got to do now is you got to leave it alone. You got to leave it alone. Because as a man, you want to be in a position where you're not a repetitive beggar. Everyone's allowed to make mistakes and have weak moments, but you don't want them to define your character as something that you keep going with. Himanshu Hingad. My ex left me. That's an interesting name. What nationality is that? Hingad. My ex left me after 5 years of long relationship, and she said she wants to focus on herself. She loved me a lot, but now we're together. What to do? My ex left me after 5 years of a long relationship. Indian, all right. I like Indian food. My ex left me after 5 years of a long relationship. She said she wants to focus on herself. She loved me a lot, but now we're together. Now we're not together. What to do? Well, send your story into writemac.com would be a starter. I can't really give you advice when I don't know your story. Begging should give you clarity that the person has the power in the relationship. That's a good point, G Money. And the thing is, when you're begging, you're in a moment. You feel desperate. You love them. You care about them. And so you're not going to think. It's just you're not thinking consciously, I'm begging. You're thinking, no, don't do this. We have a good thing. What's up, David Jeffers? I got dumped, hit the gym, got 4 girls chasing me. Invest in yourself and deposits will come plus interest. That's Mikey Mike. Sorry, we've been together 12 years. I was going to marry her. Okay, so this is funny because there's another Sammy that I do live coaching with, and I thought it was you. So you totally threw me off there. Sorry, we've been together 12 years. I was going to marry her in March, but when I fly, she tells me no. I come to find out she dumped me back in 2018 and started monkey branching in 2019. So my question is, when you say she broke no contact, does that mean she just wants to be back with you? Sometimes I'm confused when individuals go, yeah, she broke no contact. She wants you back, or she just called you. I mean, I don't know if that, like, an individual reaching out to you. There's a client of mine I had before where his girlfriend and him were together since they were like teenagers, like 12 or 13 years. They broke up in their late 20s. He said he had let himself go. He had gotten really fat. And basically she had started going out drinking with friends, yada, yada, yada. She broke up with him, yada, yada, yada. He works on himself, does all these things. So like 3 or 4 years later, she reaches out to him, right? But she didn't come down on bended knee like, let's get back together. She was interested. She was interested to see how he was and what he was up to. Doesn't mean you're just going to get back with that person. He went out with her. He's like, man, I don't know. Like I said, go out with her, entertain it. So he went out with her, he entertained it. It made him feel really good. And you know what he realized? I don't want her back. It's really hard once someone breaks up. And this is what gets lost. Once you break up, there is a time period to get back together when you're not cordial, but there is also a time period where something, goes so long and feelings get so ill that someone goes, actually, I just don't even know why I liked you that much. Yeah, messed up. I was explaining why, I guess begging, laughed my ass off. I love your sense of humor about it, Philip. See, here's the thing. G-Money would agree. Mike, H22 Sparks, we got a guy show here basically right now. No one's judging you, Philip. But here's what I am going to tell you. You did it once. Don't continue to do it. That's all I'm saying. Right? That's all I'm saying. No one's above that. I haven't done that before in a breakup. But secretly I was upset or whatnot. But bottom line is you did it. The worst you can do is continue to do it. I have live coaching sometimes where guys are like, well, I told her this, I told her that. I went to her house. I brought her a care package. I offered to, I actually went over there and did her laundry when she was at work. I'm like, what? What do you mean? It's like, well, I just want to show her that I care and that and then I made the changes and then I quit smoking cigarettes. I did this, I did that. And she's, and then I just showed up at her house and I'm like, just stop. Well, should I send her a like one last email or no? She knows you want her back, dude. That's the problem. You're being annoying. Bobby Bellman, need a live coaching. Are you serious, Bob? How's SoCal treating you, bud? It's natural to not want to throw away all the investments you've made in a relationship, but when you're the only one fighting for the relationship, it's already over. There's no shame in it, Philip. That's all I want to say. There's only shame if you continue to do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and let it fucking define you. At some point, I was just talking to someone about this recently that's doing my camera work right now. It's a good friend of mine. And he was talking about this breakup he had and this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. And you just get to a point, you're like, I'm done. I'm tired of being a victim. I'm tired of complaining. I'm done. And it's actually in that moment that you feel really good. Because you're like, I feel some power. I feel like I've taken power of this situation. And what the hell does will think about it mean? What the hell does it mean when she says, I'll think about it? It means that the ball's in her court right now. She's not going to make a decision. She is not ready to be in it. And it could be that she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. Because you left the door wide open. If she wants to contact you or get back together, she knows you're available. That's it. Leave it alone. You are very good. Thank you, Bob. SoCal is hot. 111? Wow, that would be a lucky number to some people out there. Oh no, you drop value doing that. Phil, listen to Mac. Sure you drop value. Here's the thing. You can have moments where you drop value and you look back and you go, fuck, why did I do that? Don't continue to do it. That's when you got to cut it, right? You got to go, I'm done right now. I think one of the hardest things is Philip's situation, because I know it from the live coaching session. They have a good thing. They had a good connection. They had a lot of good times together. It's harder when people say that the relationship was bad for a long time and it's gotten worse. She's in Central America, so it's long distance. So in 2016, we have our son, all cool, but the pregnancy changed her personality. Then things got real for her. She monkey branched in secret. Bottom line is, where are you at in the world, Mr. Sammy? Philip, I know you're not a psycho, bro. I like I said, we talked for an hour and a half. I mean, I know you're not like that. I've no. You're a good guy, and you're a strong character guy. I don't think you're gonna continue to bask in pity. Chicago, the Bulls, Bears, Central America, huh? I mean, you want me to be honest with you? How long do you expect to keep a wife or a woman, the mother of your child, in another country, in another time zone? I mean, what do you think the odds are of keeping that relationship? And I'm just gonna guess, what's your age difference? I'm not judging you. I'm just asking you a simple question. Do you have a pretty big age difference or no? Okay, so you have a 17-year age difference. You live in a different country in a different time zone. The reason why I say time zone counts, because that means you can't talk as much. You're in different time zones, right? Speechless? I mean, there's an expiration date on all long distance relationships. 17-year age difference. I'm assuming she's younger than you. What did you expect? Was there an end game where she'd eventually move to Chicago, or you'd eventually move to Central America? If not, it's like owning a chicken farm where there's wolves around and you come and check every once in a while and you're like, oh no, the chickens got eaten up. It's like, well, you knew there was wolves around and you're not around to look after. He's going through relationship withdrawal. Lesson learned. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that you got a 17-year age difference. You work on another continent, but the idea that you're surprised that someone monkey branched or peeled off. I mean, relate. Like, you think 30 to 47, it's cool, it expired. I'm moving on to someone else. Go for you. Go for you. Go for you. And the fact that she came back into the picture makes you feel good. So go for you. I've never been to Central America. I'm curious which country it was. There's actually living in Thailand now for a long time. I've met someone that lives over here, American from Chicago, actually, random enough. And she lived in Guatemala for years and loved it, which was kind of random because people always tell me they like Panama. As per topic you talked about earlier, she has perception of me that she has to be committed or nothing. Is her perception correct, Philip? All right, I got 15 on deck, 3 likes. I will be back on 11 a.m. tomorrow, Indochina time. But here's the good news for this group that's on. I'm going to be on at this time Thursday and Friday. So the same exact time, Thursday and Friday, which actually might be your Wednesday and Thursday because we're a day off if you're in America. Any closing questions, folks? I know this is a short live stream for me, but Mike, it's great to see you, bud. Mike, when I first started my channel, Mike was one of the first people that watched the channel, so I always get a kick out of that. See you, Bobby. Bobby B. Philip will be in contact soon. Mike, keep being you. Mike's a character. Mike, when I get my live stream or my podcast going, I like your glasses. I don't have glasses today. Oh, and other times, those are actually glasses for blue light. Mike, when I get my podcast going, I'm going to have you on as a guest caller. Dude's hilarious. Thanks, G Money. Thanks for the Instagram. That's actually the beach I really live at. That's not Photoshop. You're a truck driver, Sammy? My father's 30 years truck driver. Teamster? Grandpa, my uncles, all Teamsters. So I've actually had a few clients that are truck drivers too. So maybe we did talk before. All right, folks. Like I said, not tomorrow will be 11 a.m. Indochina time. So I don't know what that is where you're at, but you could Google it. And intermodal rail truck driver. Cool, man. Well, here's the thing, Philip. It's okay to be hurt, bro. None of us are bionic fucking men over here. We can all chime in. This is a fresh wound. It's going to take time, Philip. We'll unpack it in a live coaching and get to the bottom of some of the things. But right now, don't contact her. That's the short advice. Keep yourself fucking busy. Change your routine. This is something I suggest to a lot of people that they're like, what do you mean? If at 8 o'clock at night is when you usually watch TV and talk to her or sit around, 8 o'clock at night, go for a walk in the park with your dog. 8 o'clock at night, go out to a cafe to eat and do some writing. I don't know, but you change your routine because there's certain triggers of times when you used to talk to her that make you feel more sad. And double down on exercise. And that doesn't mean you need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and go to the gym. It just means you need to do something active, like walking or one of those things. Yeah, you should go no contact. You've already begged. You've already showed that you care. You left the door open. Don't continue to do the same. I ignored her. She's feeling ignored and walked away. Yeah, we need to help these guys. I've been there. I can get. I don't know what SUI dash da is. All right, folks. It's curtains. Like I said, I'll be on all week. Go to my Instagram at Coach Mac McCarthy. If you want to check the schedule, it's up there. Otherwise, it was great to catch up. Great to see you on here, Mike. G Money, as usual, always a pleasure. Mr. Sammy, Philip will be in contact. Take it easy.